When we arrived at the Riverside Country Club, the birthday party was already lively. Bright crystal lights hung from the high ceilings, and servers in neat black suits moved around offering drinks to the adults. My 7-year-old daughter, Emma, stood beside me holding my hand. Her hair was neatly braided, and she wore a soft floral dress we had found at a thrift store the week before. The moment she tried it on, she smiled and twirled in front of the mirror, completely in love with it. The dress was well made, gently used, and fit her perfectly. She felt special wearing it. I told her she looked beautiful, and I truly meant every word. Near the entrance stood my father, greeting guests with his usual confidence. At 62, he still acted like every room belonged to him. He owned a manufacturing business and never missed a chance to remind people of his success. The celebration was for my niece, Sophia, who was turning 8. My father had booked the entire event hall. Swan-shaped ice sculptures filled the corners, a live string group played softly, and the dessert table looked more expensive than most people's monthly bills. A tall 4-layer cake decorated with gold details sat in the center. As soon as we walked in, my father's loud voice cut through the room. He made a remark about our clothes, making sure everyone heard. Emma squeezed my hand tighter and her smile slowly faded. My mother stepped closer, dressed perfectly as always, and made a comment to Emma that was loud enough for others to hear. A few people nearby laughed. Then my brother Mark joined in with a joke, standing in an expensive suit beside his wife. It was clear they noticed everything, and not in a kind way. Across the room, my sister Jessica stood with her 5-year-old daughter, who was dressed in a clearly expensive outfit from a well-known children's store downtown. Jessica glanced at Emma and smiled in a way that didn't feel kind at all. "Oh, Emma," she said with fake concern. "Did you find that at a yard sale?" More people laughed. Even some of my father's business friends joined in, amused by the scene like it was entertainment. Emma squeezed my hand even tighter, her small fingers pressing hard against mine. I was about to say something, but my husband James gently touched my arm. He was focused on Emma, whose eyes were now shiny with tears. Then he gave her that calm, steady smile I've known for 8 years. "That dress is lovely," he said softly. "You look perfect." My father scoffed. "Oh, come on, James. You can afford better than secondhand clothes for your child. After all, I'm the one paying you." That was always his belief. James had been the chief financial officer at my father's company for 6 years, and Dad never let anyone forget it. He also loved reminding people that James didn't attend an Ivy League school, unlike him. Dad mentioned his Princeton degree at nearly every family gathering. He talked endlessly about building his company from nothing, as if it proved he was above everyone else. James stayed calm. "I'm paid exactly what the role deserves," he said evenly. Then he looked at Emma and smiled again. "How about we get some cake?" As we moved further into the party, Emma stayed close to me, much quieter than usual. The other kids ran around wearing fancy outfits. My sister-in-law Jennifer made sure to praise Sophia's custom dress, then glanced at Emma before turning to the other mothers. "Some people just have different priorities," she said casually. I personally couldn't imagine not dressing my child properly for a family event. I felt my jaw tighten, but James squeezed my hand, reminding me to stay calm. Then it was time to open presents. Sophia sat in a large decorated chair surrounded by white roses, while adults handed her gift after gift. There were expensive dolls, the newest tablet, a full art setup that must have cost a fortune, and gift cards worth hundreds. When Emma stepped forward with her present, a thoughtful art kit she had chosen herself because Sophia once said she liked drawing, my father laughed out loud. "Well, that's thoughtful," he said, clearly meaning the opposite. His business partner Richard smirked beside him. "Sophia, don't forget to send a thank you," he added. A text should be enough for this one. Save the fancy notes for the real gifts. The laughter filled the room again, and my face burned as I stood there holding Emma's hand. My face felt hot with embarrassment. Emma leaned into my leg, trying to disappear. Her lower lip shook, and I could see she was holding back tears. "You know what your real problem is?" my father said, now fully focused on me. The room had gone silent, all eyes on us. "You never understood the importance of success. Look at your brother. Look at Jennifer. They know how to keep standards." Mark nodded in agreement. "It's about teaching kids what really matters." "Exactly," Dad continued. "And honestly, I'm ashamed. This is a family gathering, and we have business guests here. What does it say when my own granddaughter shows up looking like she doesn't belong?" The words landed hard. The room stayed quiet. Emma was crying now, tears rolling down her cheeks without a sound. I bent down to hold her, anger rising in my chest. That's when James calmly took out his phone. His expression didn't change. "That's interesting," he said casually. "Since we're talking about family and business, there's something I'd like everyone to see." He tapped his screen a few times. Around the room, phones began to buzz. Messages were hitting the family group chat. People looked down, confused. "What is this?" my father asked, staring at his phone. "That," James replied evenly, "is a public business record from 2019. The year your company nearly collapsed. Do you remember?" My father's face tightened. "That information is private." "Actually, it's public," James said calmly. "Anyone with access to the records can see it. And according to this filing, when the company was just 3 months away from failing, you accepted an investment to stay afloat." He paused, letting the words sink in. "You gave up 73% control of the company in exchange for emergency funding," James continued. "The agreement was signed on March 15th, 2019, at 3:47 in the afternoon, at Cohen and Associates downtown. You were under so much pressure that you signed without fully reviewing the terms." My mother's eyes widened as she looked at the screen. "What are you talking about?" she asked quietly. James tapped his phone again, and more alerts filled the room. "This is the current shareholder list, updated as of this morning," he said. "See that firm listed at the top? Blackstone Holdings, LLC. "I know who owns my company," my father snapped. "Some investment firm holds the majority." "So what? I still run the place." "You do manage the daily operations," James replied calmly. "That was part of the deal. You stayed on as president and handled everyday decisions. But all major financial choices, long-term planning, and executive pay require approval from the controlling owner." Mark was scrolling through his phone now, his face tight with confusion. "This says the investment firm is owned by a trust." "That's right," James said. "The Westbrook Family Trust. It was set up in 2018. Without waiting, he sent more documents to the group chat. My sister-in-law gasped as she read. "It says the main beneficiary is you?" "My wife," James said clearly. "Emma's mother. The same woman you've been criticizing all evening." The room went completely still. Emma had stopped crying and was staring up at her father, eyes wide. My father's face drained of color. "That can't be true," he said weakly. "I worked with lawyers. They never told me who was behind it." "They didn't have to," James explained. "They were only required to disclose the purchasing company, not the person behind it. My wife chose to stay out of it. She believed it would keep peace in the family if you didn't know she was the one who stepped in." "She saved the company?" Dad's voice shook. James brought up another file. "At the time, your debts were over $8 million. Lawsuits were coming. Payroll was about to fail. The trust cleared all of it, added another $3 million to upgrade the business, and renegotiated supplier contracts." He paused. "Today, the company is valued at roughly $40 million. $40 million? My mother whispered. Yes, James replied calmly, and my wife owns 73% of that. He paused. That comes to around $29 million, more or less. Jennifer covered her mouth in shock. Mark didn't say a word. He just stared at his phone. This isn't real, my father muttered, but the confidence was gone. You're making this up. Just then, James's phone rang. He put it on speaker. Hello, Mr. Thompson. This is David Martinez from Cohen & Associates. A clear, professional voice said. You asked me to call at 3:30 regarding the Westbrook matter. I have the board documents you requested. Thank you, David, James said. I'm with the family right now. Can you confirm the ownership structure of Westbrook Manufacturing? Of course, the lawyer replied. According to our records and public filings, Blackstone Holdings LLC owns 73% of the company. Blackstone is fully owned by the Westbrook Family Trust, which was established in Delaware for tax purposes. The primary beneficiary and trustee is Mrs. Sarah Thompson. Gasps filled the room. The trust's financial manager is her husband, James Thompson, the lawyer continued, who also holds authority over business decisions until the secondary beneficiary turns 25. My father dropped heavily into a nearby chair. His skin looked pale, almost gray, like the strength had drained out of him. And one more thing, James said evenly. Can you clarify what authority the minority shareholder has? Yes, the lawyer replied. The minority shareholder, Mr. Robert Westbrook, has no control over major financial decisions, executive pay, or company strategy without written approval from the majority owner. As stated in the 2019 agreement, Mr. Westbrook serves at the discretion of the trust and can be removed by a majority vote. Thank you, David, James said. That's all I needed. He ended the call. No one spoke. The silence in the room felt heavy, almost impossible to breathe through. So this whole time, my mother said quietly to my father, you've been working for your own daughter. Not quite, James said gently. He's actually been working for his granddaughter. The trust is set up to transfer fully to Emma when she turns 25. Until then, my wife manages it on her behalf. Emma looked up at me, confused. Do I own Grandpa's company? You will, I said softly. When you're grown. My father's hands were shaking now. Why didn't you tell me? For the first time that night, I spoke directly to him. Because you never asked. You assumed I was struggling. That I wasn't doing well. You never once asked about my life, my finances, or where the money came from when I bought my home. You were too busy judging. Mark frowned. You bought that house outright, he said slowly. No mortgage. I did. Jennifer's expression changed instantly, her confidence replaced with sudden interest. So, when you said you couldn't invest in Mark's startup, I said I chose not to, I corrected calmly. Because the business plan was weak, and I don't waste money just to protect someone's ego. Mark's face turned red. My father was still staring at his phone. I could have lost everything, he said quietly. If you wanted to. You could have. Yes, James replied honestly. At any point in the last 6 years, we could have demanded repayment, changed leadership, or sold the company. We didn't. Because we believed family still mattered. Believed? My mother repeated softly, catching the shift in his words. I looked down at Emma, still wearing the dress she loved, her cheeks stained from tears. My daughter wore that dress because it made her feel happy, I said firmly. Because she felt confident in it. Because we're teaching her that worth isn't decided by price tags. I met my father's eyes. And you chose to embarrass her in front of everyone. Sweetheart, he began. I raised my hand. James has kept records, I said evenly. Every comment, every message, every moment, every careless remark, every joke made at my expense, every moment you tried to belittle me in front of my child. We were willing to ignore it. You didn't need to know the truth. But today, you went too far. James opened another file on his phone. This is a board decision prepared earlier today, he said calmly. It removes Robert Westbrook as president of Westbrook Manufacturing, effective immediately. It only needs the majority owner's signature. You can't, my father whispered. We can, I said quietly, but we won't. Not yet. Think of this as your warning. I lifted Emma into my arms, even though she was getting a little too big for it. We're leaving. I looked at her gently. Emma, say goodbye to your cousin. Bye, Sophia, she said softly. I hope you liked your gift. We walked toward the exit. The room fell silent as people stepped aside. Wait, my father called out. We stopped. I'm sorry, he said. I really am. I turned around. He suddenly looked older, smaller somehow. Are you sorry for humiliating your granddaughter? I asked. Or are you sorry because you just realized I have power over you? He opened his mouth, then closed it. No answer came. That's what I thought, I said. In the car, Emma stayed quiet for a while. Then she asked, Daddy, do I really own Grandpa's company? You will, James said gently, when you're older. She thought about that. When I grow up, will I have to be mean like Grandpa? No, sweetheart, I told her. You can be successful and kind. You can be strong and gentle. You can wear what makes you happy and still be worth more than everyone in that room put together. She nodded slowly. Can we get ice cream now? James laughed. Absolutely. As we drove away, my phone kept buzzing. Messages from family members. Apologies, excuses, explanations. I turned it off. Emma fell asleep in her thrift store dress, a little ice cream still on her chin, completely unaware that she was already a millionaire, and that was exactly how I wanted it. She would learn about money, responsibility, and power when the time was right. For now, she only needed to know that she was loved, and that her dress was perfect. My phone buzzed one last time before I silenced it. A message from my father. Please, we need to talk. I deleted it. For the first time in my life, he could wait. Outside the window, city lights blurred past. Emma snored softly. James reached over and squeezed my hand. You did good, he said. We did, I replied. Not just today, but 6 years ago, when we quietly saved a failing company. When we let my father keep his title and his pride. When we built something meaningful while being underestimated. The difference now was simple. Now, he knew. Now, they all knew. And that changed everything.